welcome to Manga Mavericks and Movies, the show where we talk smack about movies, except we don't talk smack about movies. Usually we have very good things to say about them. Except for when it comes to these films by Hayao Miyazaki, where we have to dig into and expose his evil conspiracy to get the youth of the world addicted to his drugs.
Yeah, Miyazaki and his secret drug deals with the anime industry.
Yes. And we can see that the blueprints for this stem all the way back to his earliest debuts when we covered the Castle of Cagliostro. And now, here's the next step in the puzzle. Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. His 1984 film produced for Tokuma Shoten and Hakuhodo, animated by Top Craft. His first collaboration with film composer Joe Hisaishi, who would then go on to score most of the Studio Ghibli canon.
Yeah, it's weird because we're seeing the screening as part of the Ghibli Fest, but this film was technically not done by Studio Ghibli themselves.
Yes, though people, do some historical correction to consider it as part of the Ghibli canon, even including it on Ghibli, collection DVDs box set.
Which is a bit strange, because, technically you can consider what Top Craft became Studio Ghibli, because what essentially happened is that Hayao Miyazaki and Isao Takahata pretty much bought Top Craft, laid off most of the staff, and then renamed the Studio Ghibli.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess in that sense, it is Studio Ghibli, but you pretty much got rid of all the staff. Yes. So at that point, it's not really a Ghibli film, because by the time this was made, it's not the same staff that would eventually do the Ghibli films.
Yes. But this film came about originally as an adaptation of Miyazaki's manga of the same name that he started in 1982, because he got pretty popular after Castle of Cagliostro. And so, even though that film was not a box office success, the editor of Anime, Toshio Suzuki, really liked it, so he wanted him to make a work for his magazine's publisher, Tokuma Shoten. And so he did a rejected idea he had for a film, Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, and it became the most popular thing in anime age, so then it became a film 2 years later.
Yeah.
Yes, but we can see that what Suzuki was really after was the lucrative drug money he knew Miyazaki wanted to peddle to the children. That's why he wanted Miyazaki to write a story for him. Because he wanted to get in on that sweet, sweet green and moving that sweet, sweet white stuff.
Oh God. Yeah.
Or that green stuff, because like all of the Miyazaki canon, this film has a heavy environmental message, which is extremely blatant and is not subtle about it at all, because Nausicaa goes on long rants about, you're poisoning the earth, killing is wrong, you're angering the worms, don't kill the worms.
Aren't they like caterpillar things? Because they're supposed to be bugs, so...
Caterpillar things, yeah, they look similar to those. They're bugs, they're fictional bugs.
Yeah, so they can't be worms, yeah.
So... let's just get it right out of the way. It's just like how the film's environmental message, the surface level environmental message is obvious. The darker subtextual message is also pretty obvious in that, hey kids, your authority figures are getting you involved in wars and they're destroying the earth. That's wrong. Don't trust your authority figures. Don't go into war. We all need to be happy and one with nature and one with the greenery and the bugs and the life, man.
Now here's some...
You gotta be hippies, man.
Now
you gotta live with the nature. You gotta grow them green, man. Gotta grow them green. And then if you grow them green, you're gonna have nice dreams of fields and flowers. You'll trip out real peaceful like Nausicaa, man.
And then you could go hang out with Totoro in his special forest.
Exactly. And Nausicaa is the messiah that will lead you down those happy fun times. Listen to every word she says because she is Jesus.
Praise Nausicaa!
The man in blue is basically a metaphor for Jesus. Nausicaa is Jesus. She is perfect. She can do no wrong. Everything, all the problems, the evils in the world will be solved because of her. In the context of this film. The manga is a lot different. It's pleasing to believe that Miyazaki was like, all this drug subtext, maybe I should write something that isn't going to get kids addicted to drugs.
Oh my
Maybe
god.
I should just write a cool story with interesting ideas. So the manga goes a lot deeper into Nausicaa's character. She's not quite as perfect. She's not really a messiah figure. A lot of the characters are more fleshed out in the manga, whereas they are a lot simpler in this film. I think that Kushana, who is the antagonist of the film, the princess of Tolmikia, she is a way better character in the manga because she has way more motivation and backstory with her relationship with her, the royal family, her brothers and stuff, and her, attempts to, reclaim the throne there. So, she gets a lot more development. So does her lackey, Kurotowa, who's, duplicitous nature is, played for laughs in this film, but it doesn't really go anywhere, but it does more, he does more in the manga. Asbel also just, comes in pretty quick. And not quick, actually though really late into the film.
He's the pilot guy, right?
Yeah. So he doesn't really have much to do, even though he's a main character of the manga too. And so all the manga is a more fleshed out version of the story, just like how the Akira manga is a more fleshed out version of Akira. I highly recommend that. But this film is still really good, really beautifully made, and just has, even though Nausicaa is kind of a messiah character and she is presented as really perfect character, she's just so likable, I really get behind her, and when she's in pain and when she's crying, I'm right there with her. She might be a little preachy about don't destroy the environment, but she's kind of right, so.
She's like early Benager in Gundam Unicorn.
Sure, I know who that is.
He's the main character of Gundam Unicorn.
The brown-skinned, white-haired guy?
He's the what?
No,
he's the guy with
Iron-Blooded Orphan, sorry.
Yeah, Unicorn, Benager. He's the guy with the brownish hair.
So he's the Amuro stand-in in that one?
Yeah,
who sort of looks like Amuro?
Except he's not really like Amuro. He's very anti.
Right, but he looks like him.
I guess sorta. Amuro has a bit more lighter hair color. Amuro's hair is more red or orange.
Okay.
Yeah. Why don't you watch Gundam, Sid? Why don't you watch more Gundam?
I did get the DVD for Unicorn, so I'll watch that.
Unicorn is good.
But this has nothing to do with Gundam, Nausicaa.
I mean, there's...
Except no, this doesn't have anything to do with Gundam. But, Hideaki Anno was an animator on this film, so you can see from, how the God Warriors attacks, you can see some prototypes for Ava Unit 1.
Yeah, that felt very reminiscent of that.
In that show, so yeah, it's very interesting to look at this film and see how the animators and the crew who worked on this film would develop in later Ghibli films and beyond Ghibli as well. But this was a pretty interesting experience, not just to notice all the effects of the drug, but just, to just enjoy the surface story. Because the surface story is just so cool. The world in Nausicaa is, really cool. The toxic forest is beautiful. The Omu and all the bug creatures are just such great designs. And Omu, are such a great design because they can be terrifying in one scene, and they can be majestic and awe-inspiring in another. There's just some beautiful colors, especially, shades of blues and the contrast between blue and red. That's the scene where the Omu are charging with their red eyes in the night.
Yeah.
Haunting, as is when the Fire Warrior is blasting his fire breath and like shooting all the, that's like a horrifying scene, and the colors sell it so well.
Yeah, I mean,
like, this film is beautiful.
I mean, in terms of the color scheme, you can tell there's like this clear like distinction between like red and blue.
Yeah.
Like when like the Nomu, no, not Nomu, what are they called? The caterpillar things.
Omu.
Oh, okay.
You're getting confused with the things from MHA.
I guess they sort of look like... They're both, like, blackish, I guess.
The Omu are, like, gray.
Are they?
They are.
Okay.
You just saw this movie today.
I don't know.
You know,
Yeah.
not that dissimilar in the manga, though. In terms of, like, how they were created, I guess.
Okay, yeah. So, anyways, I guess, like, when you see, like, the eyes of, like, the Omu turning red, it kind of symbolizing this whole, like, war and chaos, but then, like, when they turn blue, it's more of, like, a calm and peaceful type thing. And you can even see this in Nausicaa's dress at the end, because Nausicaa's wearing this red dress, like, in the final scenes, and then when the Omu revive Nausicaa, the dress turns blue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which is, like, this interesting touch.
Yeah, it is really, really great stuff. And even though the thematic messages about the environmentalist messages are on the nose, you know, they're good messages.
Yeah.
But I could tell that, and this is to tie back into our theater experience, because we keep forgetting to do that sometimes,
Yeah.
is that the adults in the audience, whenever, like, the movie was on the nose of when Nausicaa was saying, don't kill people, don't burn the forest, that's bad, humans are responsible for all the bad. Like, people were rolling their eyes. There's this one guy who groaned at the end when, like, the Obaba comes to realization that Nausicaa is the man in blue that will save them all. Who is destined to lead everyone into peace. So that was like, oh, she's a Messiah. Oh, roll eyes.
I mean, everyone knew that.
Yeah, I mean, you could predict that. But
She wears, even without the dress, she's always, like, her normal suit's blue.
yeah.
So, like, just put two and two together there.
Yeah. That doesn't bother me, though. I mean,
Yeah.
as an adult, you can kind of notice, like, okay, this is a little on the nose. You could be a little subtler, and if you read the manga especially, you could see that Miyazaki was a lot more thoughtful with the message, and it wasn't just a simple, oh, Nausicaa's the Messiah, and there will be peace now. She did this one sacrifice, and everything will be better. It's a lot more complicated and in the manga, and it requires more people to make sacrifices. But, yeah, I still really love the movie for just, like, for its beautiful world, for the well-characterized characters, even if they're not as strongly developed as in the manga.
Yeah. I mean, I can kind of see, like, one of my friends thinks this film's preachy, which I disagree with. It's not really preachy. But I kind of feel like they are a bit more, like, straightforward about the environmental message.
Mm-hmm.
Which I guess compared to, say, like, Castle in the Sky. I feel Castle in the Sky, up until, like, around the very end, where they start, like, actually straightforwardly addressing it, is a lot more subtle about it.
Yeah, Castle in the Sky is a little more refined compared to this movie.
Castle in the Sky does a very good job. They settle until, like, the very end, where, like, the main two kids are just, like, straight up talking about the theme of the movie to the villain.
Yeah, so the message isn't great and all, but there's just so much more to enjoy to the movie, and actually seeing it on the big screen is quite the experience.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
It is beautiful to look at, and, like, seeing it on the big screen allows you to take in every detail.
Mm.
And, man, this movie really is effective in, like, grabbing you into the intensity of every scene, into, like, the dread of the inevitable, like, destruction and death that's gonna come. Like, you really, like, feel for Nausicaa and, like, feel, like, scared for the characters, like, in life-threatening situations. Like, it is intense, you know.
Mm.
There are kids in the audience who went, no! When, like, Nausicaa got shot. And so, like, kids were in the audience were really getting into Nausicaa. And, like,
I think there was like, one kid crying in, like, one of the rows.
I think, yeah, when Nausicaa was seemingly dead.
Yeah.
There were some sobs, I heard. So this movie really works because it can make you forget you're watching a movie, and an animated movie of that, and, like, feel, oh my god, is this I'm feeling scared for this character. I'm feeling the dread. It's like, oh, is something gonna happen? Oh, that looks painful. That looks painful. Like, this movie really is great at conveying pain and, like, all the, like, intensity in a situation.
It really
like
goes...
the forest burning down. Like, you can feel like, oh man, this is really intense thing that's going on. This is really something that we gotta that's like worrying. When the warrior is revived and shooting a Nomu and they'll explode, it's like, holy crap, that is dark, that's frightening, I feel uncomfortable. It's like in Shin Godzilla.
Yeah.
You know, you were seeing that scene where Godzilla's destroying Tokyo.
Yeah.
Like, in the audience of Shin Godzilla, people were getting up and clapping and, yeah, Godzilla, but
screw those
for
people.
Me, like, in that scene and this scene where, like, the Fire Warrior is destroying the Omu, I'm just like, oh my god, this is horrifying. Now, the warrior kind of doesn't pan out in this film. Like, it's given a lot of setup and it does like this one thing, but then it just dies.
Does the warrior do more in the manga?
Yeah, it becomes more of a problem.
Do they have to do giant Attack on Titan style warrior fights?
I don't think so. I think, if I remember correctly, that Nausicaa, like, befriends the warrior and they go off somewhere. So, that was interesting. I really need to reread the manga. But it is, like, a lot more subtle and a lot more satisfying in terms of some of these narrative threads and how they play out.
Yeah, I need to read the manga too. And it's still in print through Viz Media in a right-to-left release, unlike the old release, which is left-to-right.
Yes.
Yeah, I need to buy that. I think it's like $50.
Yeah, I do mean to get that, because I really like that manga. I really do think I need to give it a reread. So, we saw the dub of this movie, which I think it's my first time hearing it, and at first I was like, I'm not sure about this, but then as the movie went on, I was like, yeah, this is pretty good dub. Patrick Stewart as Yupa in particular was, like, so good. Like, he sold every moment he was in. And then...
Wait, Patrick Stewart was Lord Yupa?
Yeah.
Oh. Huh.
And basically everyone who was in the movie was pretty good. Shia LaBeouf as Asbel was probably the weakest one.
Shia LaBeouf was this
Yeah, Shia LaBeouf was Asbel. Because this dub was made in 2005.
Oh.
And, you know, interestingly enough, when this movie was originally brought over to the US by New World Pictures in 1985, it was called Warriors of the Wind. It was heavily butchered to be marketed as a children's adventure film. Character names were changed, and a lot of plot details were changed.
Is this the one that Miyazaki, like, shipped the sword to the guys?
No, it's because of this butchered version that Miyazaki adopted that strict no edits clause for his other films. And when he heard that Princess Mononoke was going to be edited in a similar way, that's why they got sent the katana with the message no cuts. So, like, the original release of Nausicaa in the US was what has made companies, like, have to stick very faithfully to the films and the related media surrounding Miyazaki's films.
Or else Miyazaki will come to your house with the samurai sword and, like, cut you up.
I mean, he'll threaten to do that. And he has, who knows if he's actually done that?
He's covered it up. They'll never catch him.
Sure. So, I don't know if this dub, how it compares to the sub necessarily. It's hard to say. I definitely think I still prefer the sub, but, like, Patrick Stewart as Yupa alone is making me question it because he was so good.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Rewatching Nausicaa just makes me want them to readapt Nausicaa, like, as a TV series.
Where's our Nausicaa TV series?
Yeah, because
Ghibli, you could have done this without Miyazaki. It would have been easy monies.
Sure. I mean, I think they need his permission since he wrote the original.
I think he'd probably let them, right?
I guess.
Maybe? I don't know.
I mean, I just would really like that full story to be adapted. I mean, the movie is amazing. I think it's still one of my favorite anime movies.
Yeah.
I would say the same for Akira, but with both, like those original manga, I just think have just such more interesting stories than what the films could do with them.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that if they were adapted into TV series, I would just allow those stories to be told in full, and they would make for probably some of the best anime shows ever if they're done well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm sure there's probably been talks about it before, but it's just getting the thing greenlit. Like, I think even a few years back, we heard about like studios and Otomo being interested in making a Akira TV anime, but we just don't hear about this stuff. Probably because a combination of the cost of the licensing of the property, and then actually adapting it in a way that'll satisfy everyone involved. Which, for like big titular things like Akira and Nausicaa are really hard because they have to be perfect. Like, it's not going to get made unless it's perfect.
Yeah, well, hopefully, even if Miyazaki himself needs to direct a TV series for it, it can get made.
Or a 7-film, like, Nausicaa series, like, 1 film for each volume or something.
I guess one thing that I didn't realize, but just thinking about it, the difference between the dub and sub is that the presentation of Nausicaa as a messiah figure is more of a dub thing in the sense that they present her more as a Christ analog in the dub because of the language used than in the Japanese when that language of like savior or messiah and like the way things are described are not used in that same context. So that would be an interesting thing to dig deeper into, though that would require me to like rewatch both versions and compare them, write an essay and all that. But that's something that I would love someone to like really dig into. Like a video essay or just a regular like essay in general. I'm sure someone already has.
To the internets.
Yeah. This is of course a classic movie. The subtext of keeping the environment healthy so you can grow more weed and get high aside. But it's still a great movie, even though some of the message is on the nose.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I enjoyed this, and I guess next time we'll have to jump forward about 20 years to talk about Spirited Away and how that fits into all this.
Oh, that's a very easy
answer.
Answer.
But we'll have to just see.